Trevor Larnach knocked a fan over. He hit a ball so hard. And the Twins are moving on up in the AL Central standings. Let's review after we get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. A reminder also that the Locked On Twins podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm co-host Dave Brown, a professional ball writer since 1998 and a member of the BBWAA since 2012. Please follow me, if you like, on Twitter at @AnswerDaveBrown. Across cyberspace from me is Brandon Warren, a Twins watcher for 30 years, who not long ago covered the team on a daily basis professionally. He asks, by the way, that you unfollow him on his new Twitter handle, which is at Brandon_Warren1, the number one, the digit one. He'll have more to say about what's going on Twitter, I'm sure, very soon in this show. In this podcast, we will look ahead and behind at the first game of the Twins road trip to St. Petersburg and Kansas City against two teams, the Rays and the Royals, that might even be more desperate to win than they are. Before we discuss the Twins' 5-4 victory at Tropicana Field, let's have Brandon tell us who is bringing us this fine episode.
Well, now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started.
So the Twins win 5-4. Larnach hit a ridiculously hard 112.5-mile-an-hour 3-run homer in the second inning. That was most of the offense. Royce Lewis had an RBI double earlier, and Brooks Lee had a solo home run later. And the bullpen picked up Simeon Woods Richardson, who couldn't get out of the fourth inning. 5 1/3 innings for the pen, 4 hits, no walks. That's probably the key right there. And 8 strikeouts, including Junior Caminero going down. Yohan Duran had a simple, easy 1-2-3 clean 9th inning. That was great too. It's what the Twins needed. The Rays, I think, are 4 under at this point, and they're still scratching possibly at a wild card spot. I don't think it's going to happen. It certainly isn't going to happen if the Twins keep beating them in like this. Larnach's home run, though, it was ridiculous. He's got this swing. It's sort of like a home run derby swing. It looks like he's using only his upper body, and it's just he's swinging really hard. And he knocked this fan over in right field, who I don't know if they were trying to catch the ball or they were just hit. They're an innocent bystander or whatever. But it was such a unsettling moment. Larnach, I guess, saw it happen. He was watching and wanted to make sure the fan was okay and checked on him. Larnach was started, I think he was in right field, and then he moved to left later, and he was able to check on the fan later. I guess he was okay. He had one of the clubhouse guys gave him a bat to sign for him. When they give you a bat, I think that means they're worried. They're really worried about the guy. It wasn't just a ball. It was a bat that they gave him to, it's like, hey, no hard feelings, buddy.
Well, did he really need another ball? He gave him a ball earlier in the game.
Right. Well, this one, I don't know. Was that one autographed? I guess it must have been.
It was tattooed. It was tattooed. I don't know about autographed, but yeah, I don't know if he would have triggered.
The ball was tattooed, and then the guy's chest was tattooed. It was a double tat.
He's branded for life. I don't know if it would have been a good idea to give him another baseball. He might have been a little bit of a jarring image for him. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought I saw there's this thing when you get a concussion called like a fencing response where you kind of seize up. Probably didn't happen because I don't think the guy got hit in the head. I'm not sure. Maybe he did, but it just looked like he went just stiff and then kind of toppled over like a tree that had been hit by lightning or something. And frankly,
the replay I saw, it looked like he lost consciousness for a second.
Then he probably did have a concussion, because when you it's like fencing. I don't know why it's called that. It's kind of like you get all robotic. But
is this for Edouard Julien? Is this his influence because of the French?
It's very possible. But Yeah, and so he was actually in right field. So he went to left later in the game when Matt Wallner got lifted. So he was out there. He probably had not only the view of when he hit it, but I'm sure he got an earful from fans as he was back out there the next half inning. So good to see him do right by that fan, and obviously no ill intent or anything like that. But
he was really worried about him, though. You could tell from the interview with Auden after the game that he was like, "I've never seen that happen before," and he's like, "Can we hurt people like that? Is within power, boy."
You know what I like to see though? I like to see, as much as I know that they're competing and they're locked in and everything. It's sort of like when I watch an NFL game and a player hits the sideline guy wearing the oven mitts or the big satellite dish looking thing, and they help them up. It's a humanity thing, and I love seeing that. I hate seeing the guy knock them down and not even look at them, and I don't like, especially the guys who spike the football in their face or throw the football at them, not even regarding them as human beings.
Do you remember when Dennis Rodman kicked the photographer?
I was actually at Target Center in Minneapolis in like 1996.
That's like the ultimate.
Or 97.
As much as I give Rodman a pass on certain things and like his personality, that was really that was not a good look. That was not a fun. That was like the opposite of what we're talking about. Is just a real lack of humanity there. I see what you're saying though, Brandon, because these guys, for the most part, they're pretty. They have tunnel vision. I mean, they are trying to. They're in their next at bat already. A lot of these guys, by the time when they're circling the bases in a home run, they're probably already thinking about, well, what do I do to follow that up? Because my career depends on it, or the game depends on it. They get very nervous about their staying valuable and staying part of the team and all that. But you're right. It was good to yes. It was good to. It was good to see that Trevor Larnach's a human being. It sounds funny to put it that way, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I looked it up. It was January 1997, but it was at Target Center in Minnesota. So local angle, we love the local angle, and that applies here. But no,
it turned out that photographer was like a bad dude.
Well, and he kicked him in the groin, didn't he? Like it wasn't just a.
No, yeah. Well, I never thought that it was like. I think he was just reaching for him. I don't think he intended to kick him in the nuts, but
sounds like. But I know if your assertion is correct.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's some. Look that up. It's kind of a weird story.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not to get off on a tangent, but so we got Larnach hitting the home run. I had Anthony LaPanta, the well-tanned host, in his last 9 starts. He mentioned this: 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 11 RBI for Larnach in his last 9 starts. So he's definitely on a roll. And we wondered yesterday, well, what's Royce Lewis going to do for a follow-up? Is he going to get on a roll? Well, maybe he is. He had 2 hits. He had an RBI double. I think he hit this one I think he hit this ball harder than he did the home run. Although I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I think it looked better. It was inside the line. So he's working within the margins. He's barely getting over the fence. He's barely getting it fair. Royce is he's working his way back into superstardom. So that's also a good sign.
If you lines, that's all that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. My son has been as he's been growing older, has been much better at that. I'm like, good job, son. Way to stay within the lines.
106.9, 560 expected batting average. Not a homer in any MLB parks, but obviously as a grounder over the third base bag.
Yes.
By the way, Anthony LaPanta, that is Italian for Tony the Panther, just so you know.
Is it? Well, I like that. He's
I made that up.
Did you? It might be though. He was like his skin tone's like the shade of a panther. He's very. I don't know if it was because they were in Florida or what, but he was very tan.
No, do you know what he does actually?
Does he own a tanning salon?
No, he's the play-by-play voice for the Minnesota Wild. So this is just him getting tuned up for the hockey season.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he fills in every now and then. He used to be a studio host more often before he got that job, but he does a pretty good job. He's a little polarizing. He's very he's got the voice for it, but he's kind of mechanical and doesn't have a crazy bit of personality about it, but he does a very nice job.
Yeah, sometimes you just want us to get through the game. You don't need to too crazy about it. But hey, let's take our first break, and then we'll talk more about this baseball game. How about that?
Yeah, before we do that, I want to make sure that everyone knows they can catch every pitch of the Twins hometown broadcast with Chris Atterbury and friends on Sirius XM. Just download the SXM app, search Twins. Same bat time, same bat channel, Festa Springs, and it's going to be 5:50 in Central Time at the Trop. By the way, I thought the game felt like it went really slow tonight. I know the time didn't necessarily bear that out. And we can talk about that more in a little bit, but the first inning, a few innings just kind of trudged on. Hey, though, like you said, we'll take our pause. When we come back, we'll talk more baseball, I guess. Let's show some love to our friends at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, or if you must, use the browser. It's gametime.co. We love going to live events. I went to Metallica last month, and this month I'm going to a live podcast at I think it's the State Theater in Minneapolis. But
is it ours?
No,
it's not our podcast, is it? Oh,
I don't think so. This is a podcast that has, I believe, that the State sold out, which is like 2,200 seats. I don't know if we could sell out my backyard, but maybe someday. But any kind of show you want to check out, GameTime is the place to go. You just get locked into your local municipality and then start thumbing through. You can see sports games, comedy shows, music, you name it. They've got it. They filter out the fluff to show you great deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of, spots that aren't going to be for you and that sort of thing. Now, with that said, one thing I think you got to do, you don't have to, but in my opinion, you toggle the all-in pricing. So from the second that you find the seat that you think is best for you, and it'll tell you what you're going to pay, all fees, everything included. You know exactly what you're going to spend. I know I don't like the bait and switch on the back end where I think I'm paying this much, but I'm really paying double that at the end. So I would highly recommend doing that. But you got seat views, panoramic seat views of where you're going to be if you're in section 100, row 3, seat 7. And I know I used this reference on the last show. That was my seat at the Metrodome. But I would have known exactly what it was going to look like as I was looking down at the back of the left fielder, no matter if it was Shannon Stewart or Carlos Lee or whoever was there that night at the Metrodome. That seat view will let you know what you're going to be looking at. And
there's no smoking in the Metrodome. No smoking.
No smoking in the Metrodome. I love Bob Casey. But you can also get the lowest price guarantee. GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference if you find the same seats cheaper elsewhere. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets, any tickets, with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
You mentioned the broadcast kind of dragged. Maybe I don't want to call it the broadcast. I don't want to put it on Bally Sports, but
yeah.
They did have a weird thing. Did you notice? You must have noticed for at least a few innings.
Yeah.
All we saw on the Twins broadcast was the center field camera.
Technical issues.
I did not. I didn't hear it. That's the explanation.
Yeah, so they had it for a couple innings, their technical difficulties, and I think that's why they talked to Tricia Whitaker, who is the sideline reporter for the Rays, as opposed to whoever's in town with the Twins. I think it might be Audra, but I'm not positive.
It is Audra. Audra talked to Larnach after the game.
That's right. You mentioned that. And so, honestly, I kind of enjoyed the views of guys fielding batted balls like pop-ups, just kind of getting a feel for where they were going. And I actually posted this. I think having the option to like toggle off the strike zone from your cable provider or your game, your Bally or your Yes Network or wherever you watch baseball, if you had the option to toggle off the strike zone like you do on MLB The Show, I think that'd be kind of cool.
I like having the strike zone though, and I miss it.
Well, I don't mind it,
even if it's inaccurate. So, and people tell me that it's not accurate all the time, or maybe ever, and it bothers me.
It's an approximation. Your mileage may vary.
Right? Is there like proprietary strike zone somewhere where it's really accurate? It must be. So, like when we get mad at umpires, should we be getting mad at umpires? I don't know.
By the way,
yeah,
I was at the Saints game on Sunday, and I think it was Peyton Eales challenged a strike
Hmm.
and it was turned to a ball. And then there was also one that was challenged as a ball and turned into a strike by Scranton Wilkes-Barre, the Yankees AAA system, that turned into a strikeout. I want to say the bases were loaded and everything, but I love that system, and it went so fast, and nobody seemed to have any problem with the calls being changed, maybe because you get thrown out if you do. But I am eager to see that come to the major leagues because it looks awesome.
So were there 2 challenges or were there more and you just remember 2?
He has 2, and I think they only used 1 apiece. Now, we were down, funny story, we were actually down on the field the first 2 innings because my daughter participated in a race of these electrical cars, these little kiddie mobiles against these 2 brothers, and she won, I might add. So we were underneath and didn't get to watch the first couple innings. And weirdly enough, the camera guy comes down the tunnel, and it's somebody I went to high school with. I mean, just small world, small town, blows your mind.
This happens to you a lot, doesn't it? It seems like it. You run into people you've known in previous lives.
Yeah, it's really weird, but you know what? Maybe someday I can write a book about it.
Well, because of the snafu on the broadcast, it was like, all right, this is great. I don't want to see like Yandy Diaz jogging to first on a home run. Like, is it a home run? Is it a fly out? Okay, he's turning back to the dugout. It was a fly out. So I can move on with my life. So I didn't like that. So I switched to the Rays broadcast, and they do fine. It's obviously Rays centric, but Dwayne Statz, long time ago Cubs announcer, and Brian Anderson, one of the many Brian Andersons, left-handed pitcher, who's really good, one of the better analysts.
I think they're rated one of the best broadcasts, like when Fangraphs does their crowdsourcing all the time.
Yeah, they're really good. They mentioned, though, this might have been after the game, the Rays went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. The Twins were 2 for 10, so not that big a difference. And a lot of the same complaints from the Rays broadcast about how the Rays don't come through, and it's just like we're losing these 1-run games and we're 1 hit away. It just, people talk about the Twins in those terms as if they're the only team in the world that has moments like that. But it's been put out there on Twitter every once in a while. You should watch another team that you don't have an interest in for a game, or maybe even for a few innings, and you'll find they have a lot of the same problems that your team does.
Very few things your team goes through are unique to your team. Everybody hates their third base coach. Everybody thinks their backup quarterback is better than the starter, unless you're a KC Chiefs fan. There's a lot of common truisms in the sport. And by the way, I wrote notes for the Rays sometime in the last week, and they are a distressingly boring offense. I got a lot of mileage out of Yandy Diaz as a leadoff hitter because he's been there so much this year that I got like most hits out of the leadoff spot, because a lot of teams, flip guys around. It's him and Luis Ariz, because it was Rays Padres, so it was actually this weekend. But outside of that, Caminero has really turned it on lately and is, obviously next in their line of great young players. But everyone else on that team is kind of just like not non-remarkable when you're trying to find interesting things to write about for a game. And so, while I understand like the frustration with them not coming through, when I look at the Twins not coming through, and then I look at the Rays not coming through, and I think, my frustration level would be a little different if I was watching Taylor Walls play every day. I mean, he's a great defender, but he can't hit at all.
Trevor Plouffe noted this. Trevor Plouffe, kind of like an extra analyst, but in his parents' basement right now, remotely, in terms of how Rocco managed the bullpen, which he needed to do a lot of with Simeon Woods Richardson only going into the 4th inning. But how he used the bullpen, because the guys at the bottom of the order, the Rays, the last 5 or 6 guys, not a lot of OPSs near 7, as he pointed out. So the threats were really at the top. And it was a great, they needed a good job from the bullpen, and it was, except for Cole Sands allowing a home run, it was basically a total shutdown of, albeit a mediocre-ish offense. But, that hasn't stopped other teams before, Cleveland, from coming back on the Twins or somebody else. So it was great to see Jax bounce back. It was great to see a clean inning out of Duran. Alcala was pretty good. Had a couple of close calls on pitches that didn't work out, but that was his best outing in a while. So
And they put him in hot water, and he came in and did okay. I mean, I think they had
right.
that ball that skipped, but then came back to strike the guy out at the plate and strand a guy at third. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a hopscotch where Alcala threw a big spot, or as big as a spot can be, in the fourth and fifth inning. And Enriquez, it was kind of like, all right, let's see what this guy can do. Jax gives you what you need from Jax, but that's where the bulk of their order came up. Then you go to Sands, who's been very good this year, but I still think, he's teetering on that before and after precipice that we talk about, the befores and the afters. I think he's an after, but if he were to be used as a before, I wouldn't completely disregard it. Again, to explain, we call bullpen guys who pitch before you lead befores and after you lead afters. Sands is squarely in the middle of that. And then Duran to finish it off, as you would expect, but also facing, some pretty good players in that order. No, I thought it was managed quite well.
We'll do our break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. We haven't really talked about Simeon Woods or Richardson and the rest of the series, and a couple other things from the minor leagues going on in rehab games. So still lots of good content coming up after these messages.
FanDuel's got some fun stuff going on. You hear us talk about them all the time. They are America's #1 sports book. They got a little something different going on here. Through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So all customers don't have to be brand new, don't have to be new to the game, don't have to be Johnny on the spot. You just have to bet $5 and they'll give you a free 3-week trial. And I don't know if you've heard the grumbling, but a lot of people are thinking, NFL Sunday Ticket prices keep going up. Well, what better way to make sure that you would be happy with your purchase than a free trial? So with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. If you do this, all you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, download America's #1 sportsbook. And again, bet $5, anybody, not just new customers, and you'll get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Probably just enough time for you to figure out that the Vikings are not going to be very good this year. Probably shouldn't have said that, but I say what I see and I see what I say.
Would they have been? What would the expectations have been if McCarthy was McCarthy going to start, or was Darnold?
Probably not, and it's probably about the same. I think 6, 7, 8, 9 wins is kind of the window for me, and that's like if Darnold has like a Geno Smith turnaround, where Geno went to Seahawks and got his contract, and he's a perfectly decent quarterback. If he can do that, yeah, maybe they sneak into the playoff picture with 9 wins, but I don't have like crazy high expectations.
I was doing a little research, pivoting back to the Twins.
Yeah,
not really a good segue, but just trying to find out, like how worried should we be about Simeon Woods Richardson? And I think the answer is not all that worried. He had a 3.85 ERA coming into the game, but with an expected weighted on base average. That is a very stat-casty stat. It's just a hair worse than league average. So he's pitching like a fifth starter, but a lot of teams' fifth starters you wouldn't want anywhere near the mound. So he's better than that.
Still some ERA after today of 3.95.
It is. He's got a 4.63 ERA in his 7 post All-Star game starts. But if you look at it like this, a 4.50 ERA is a quality start, like the edge of one, 6 innings and 3 earned runs. So I did see one thing that was a little alarming. He has 130 innings pitched coming in, including 3 starts with St. Paul. In his history, he's been 106, 107, 117 in total in 2023. So he's passed his professional. So I'm just wondering if that's kind of what's going on, that he's getting a little tired. And that's not necessarily helpful if we if we're looking ahead to the playoffs and need him to start a game in the playoffs.
Well, they were noting too that his velo was a little down. I'm looking at Savant right now, and it's 0.7, 1.5 on his slider, almost 2 miles per hour on his changeup, but then up on his curveball. So almost a full mile per hour. When it's down on secondaries, I'm never really sure what to make of it. Spin rate was pretty steady, like within 50 spin revolutions per minute or whatever. So, I mean, negligible difference, probably a rounding error.
That could be on purpose too. The secondaries being slower could be by design to give him more space between them and the fastball.
Not only that, but also, granted the spin didn't change, but maybe, you get a little more, vertical break on the changeup, got some more horizontal break on the changeup. Sometimes slowing it down gives you more movement too. I think this is where that sixth starter is going to come in and be huge, because right now they're 90-something% to make the playoffs. Louis Varland going every sixth day. One, he might just come up and be okay. We've seen him be decent. But if he comes up and is even just awful every sixth day, the odds it's going to hit your playoff bottom line that much compared to what it's going to do you to keep someone like Simeon Woods Richardson healthy. Even Bailey Ober, we're getting on those upper limits of innings. It's like Pablo and Joe Ryan would have been the guys where it's like, okay, those innings are a little less worrisome. Everyone else, though, it's like, this is, it's not a crisis until you call it a crisis, but it's something you want to be mindful of, which I think is a good word to describe how Rocco makes decisions.
Elephant in the room. Gee, it might have been nice to add an arm or two at the trade deadline. And I was thinking about something. You pay attention to John Becker.
Hey. Trevor Richardson has 2 arms.
Do you pay attention to John Becker on Twitter?
Yes, I do. I like John.
He's like, somebody asked him, what do you think the Bally Sports Diamond, as the legal stuff drags out, what's that going to matter going forward to the teams as far as adding salary and all that? And I was thinking about it. He's like, hopefully not too bad, because they did that redistribution with the Players Association and there's more money. And it's like, there was more money. And the Twins still didn't add anybody at the trade deadline. Not to like jump on this forever or sound like other fans who just rip on the poll ads or whatever. But they really could have used this. I mean, they really could have used another starting pitcher or another relief pitcher or something.
I'm sure money was a factor, but I also think prospects, like just not wanting to move prospects, which cuts both ways. Their farm system is really good right now, and there's players that, like Emanuel Rodriguez brought up the AAA today. There are players who are close to helping this team, but this is also a young team. This is also a good team. And so you can supplement it by using some of that young talent.
Well, they've done that a lot too.
I think it came down to talent and money, not just money alone. But
this is an opportunity. Yeah. You look at the competition in the American League. There's nobody that you go, we got to play them in the playoffs. There's
this isn't the 2000 whatever early 2000 Yankees where it's A-Rod, Jeter, Jambi, all those guys that you just pray to get through the order and then it starts over again. No, I totally agree. I just think also attributing it to money. Not that you're doing this, but a lot of fans are. It's telling half the story. And so, but again, like with that said, Tanner Scott in that bullpen definitely gives it another dimension. Instead we got, Trevor Richards for 10 innings or whatever it was.
So you mentioned Emanuel Rodriguez, and they've promoted him to AAA, the Saints. I didn't get a line on him today. What did do you know what he did?
I had it pulled up here and then I lost it. He was DHing though. I know that because Byron Buxton
also slide head first in the second.
Well, and Byron Buxton was back and went 1 for 3 with a walk that was aided by a pitch timer violation. So the pitch clock giveth and taketh between Joan Duran and Byron Buxton. Rodriguez was 0 for 3 with 2 walks. So he struck out twice. So very Rodriguez-esque game where even though he didn't get any hits, he was still on base 40% of the time.
That's kind of his signature. That's sort of what people have become accustomed with Edouard Julien at some point, but hopefully there'll be more contact and more swinging.
It's insane how stacked this team could be if anybody would just stay healthy.
You mean the Saints or the Twins? Oh, right.
Well, let's be honest. Both, technically, yeah.
Brent Hedrick also, has he been?
Yeah, so Theo Tollefson, friend of the show, sometimes is on the postcast, had said that he had a locker in the clubhouse, and it sounds like he is due to start a rehab sometime this week. That might be your lefty reliever in October, or, you know, if Thielbar doesn't turn things around. I don't know how much you'd trust things if he did turn it around in September, but just another option. You know, we've seen what guys like Cole Sands can do as far as Josh Winder has been tremendous. Why not Hedrick? I mean, they've had some pretty good finds for guys that, you know, were starter-ish and have become really good relievers.
Hey, what's Paul Sullivan up to as far as?
Yeah. Well, thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. But if you're looking for a second listen, I think you are. Locked On MLB with Paul Sullivan is the way to go. He is Sully, and he is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the playoffs as we get through the dog days of summer. So prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, just like Locked On Twins is, your team every day.
So that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Twins. We'll talk more next time. We'll talk next time about, Brandon, you're switching it up on Twitter a little bit. We'll give you some time to, you know, rather than rush that.
Yeah.
Because that's how we communicate a lot with the people out there on Twitter. So for Brandon, this is Dave Brown saying we will see ya tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.